Honestly, he just wasn't Jewish enough. Far too blonde. I like the hairy Semites. Right? Is this all right? I feel very short and I feel like a Muppet right now. Should I do something with this? I'm usually so good with the mic, but there's a lot of gaffer tape happening and it's scary. And also that Marsha used the word gaffer tape and not duct tape. Go UK. It's 1989. I am 19 years old. I'm in Moscow, and 3 extraordinary things are about to happen. I'm rehearsing a production of Murder in the Cathedral with the National Youth Theatre of Great Britain. 30 young actors and technicians between the ages of 14 and 20 have been handpicked for this prestigious cultural exchange with the Moscow Arts Theatre. Glasnost is in full swing, and we are given unprecedented access to the Kremlin on our welcome tour. We don't get to go to Lenin's mausoleum, unfortunately, because the week before we fly in, the glorious leader's ear fell off, and they've closed the museum so they can stick him back together. We're staying in the Rossiya Hotel in Red Square. In 1989, it is the biggest hotel in the world, with 600 rooms. At night, we see mice running along the skirting boards. And early in the mornings, gigantic Russian women appear and plug huge vacuum hoses directly into the walls, and we feel like we're in the movie Brazil. The elevators don't stop at the 13th floor because that's where the KGB lives. On our first day off from rehearsals, we are bused to Arbat Street, which is where all the poets and the painters and the public speakers congregate. I'm trying to figure out whether or not to buy a miniature Russian Orthodox triptych when I see my girlfriend Chloe being frog-marched towards me by a rather large middle-aged gentleman I don't recognise. As Chloe gets closer, I can see that she's crying, and as she passes me, she says, "Rill, I'm being arrested. Come with me." I look around. I can't see any of our friends anywhere, so I follow. We go down a side street and into an ugly, squat building. The plainclothes police officer gestures for us to sit while he goes to the next table to talk to a man sitting there. I turn on Chloe. "What the fuck were you doing?" "I was changing money." "You idiot, that was the one thing we were told specifically not to do." "I know, but I saw a painting that I liked and I didn't have enough rubles." "Well, that's just great. Next stop, Siberia." Chloe starts crying again. The man at the next table turns to us and says in his rather halting English, "No change money on street in Moscow is illegal." The police officer is nodding. I turn to Chloe. "I think we're off the hook. Give them cigarettes." We're packing Marlboro because we've been told that under certain circumstances they're more useful than hard currency. Chloe gives a full pack to the police officer, who smiles broadly. I offer my pack to the man sitting at the table, but he shakes his head, puts his hands behind him and says, No, I am criminal." He's the only one in the police station who speaks English. "You go now. Yes? Yes. I mean, spasiba. Das Vidanya." We run all the way back to Arbat Street and get straight on the tour bus. We don't tell anybody about our brush with the Russian penal system for 2 straight days. At the age of 19, I have thus far only managed to sleep with a girl. So when Jimmy B starts flirting with me in rehearsals, I decide it's time for boy sex. Jimmy has a girlfriend back in London, but he is clearly invoking the doesn't count on location rule, beloved by so many actors and musicians worldwide. Things get hot and heavy one night at a party, so Jimmy and I decide to take things upstairs. Jimmy's roommate is asleep on the next bed while we tear each other's clothes off. Well, we hope he's asleep. Actually, by this point, I don't really care. I'm just thrilled at the prospect of finally getting a penis in my vagina. Jimmy, however, has other plans. He apparently still feels some sense of loyalty to his girl back home because he takes me in the arse, uttering the immortal words, "It doesn't count as much this way." Try telling my arse that the next morning. First night finally arrives and we are beyond excited because our patron, Prince Edward, is being flown in under a media blackout to see the show. You have to remember, these were the days before the internets, when super famous people could actually get shit done without the world and its mother live tweeting their every sodding move. The show gets a standing O, naturally, and after a brief reception at the theatre for the benefit of the local dignitaries, we are bussed back to the Rossilla for an enormous party complete with live entertainment, which turns out to be the Rossilla house band doing terrible covers of Euro trash hits, wearing pantsuits that look as if they haven't seen the light of day since the disco era. But we are theatre kids and we are giddy with glee well before the prince shows up. When Prince Edward actually arrives, he is accompanied by only 2 bodyguards. So for once in his weird-ass life, he can actually just be a regular kid hanging out with other kids who are roughly the same age as he is. He sits at a table. We scramble for spots. I'm not quite quick enough and I end up sort of hovering behind my girlfriend, Kerry. The prince sees that there isn't a seat for me and he gestures to the arm of his chair. I sit my bony ass down and take a giant gulp of Russian champagne while his 2 bodyguards monitor the situation from a discreet distance. The booze flows and our stilted, awkward conversations with the prince become more animated. We start asking impertinent questions. Sir, where'd you get your suit from, sir? The prince, although in his very early 20s at this point, is dressed like a 50-year-old man. Well, I don't actually buy any of my own clothes. They just sort of magically appear. Sir, do you ever get to do anything you really want to do, sir? Well, yes, like hang out with you guys tonight. I see my opening. Sir, do you dance, sir? The room goes silent. Everyone is staring at me. The artistic director of the National Youth Theatre of Great Britain is shaking his head vigorously, but I am on my 3rd glass of cheap Russian champagne, and I have got the devil in me. The prince looks me straight in the eye. Our noses are less than 6 inches apart. Are you asking? Everyone holds their breath. I'm asking. The artistic director face palms. Well then, says the man who at this point is 3rd in line to the British throne. I'm dancing. The room goes wild. Kids are banging on tables, screaming. The band strikes up Dancing Queen. We walk to the centre of the dance floor and for some reason adopt a ballroom hold. It's super awkward and the only thing I can think of to say is, "You dance divinely, sir." The prince smiles and says nothing, and I'm beginning to regret my reckless act of Dutch courage when I am rescued by my little friend Abby Cohen, who shoves me out of the way shouting, "Is this a ladies' excuse me?" After which all the girls and 2 of the boys in the company line up to dance with a member of the British royal family. In Moscow, in 1989, I escaped from a Russian jail. I almost lost my virginity, and I asked a prince to dance. Best March break ever. Thank you.